Welcome back to the Practically Pastoring Podcast. My name is Frank, and I am glad that you are here. The whole gang is here. I'm up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. One of the final
Not
days.
for long.
Accidentally slip an "ope" in there from Wisconsin. I'm open, Wisconsin, eh?
I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but not for
Been there too
long.
long.
Up in Baltimore, Maryland, with a nice hat, we got Jeffrey Simpson.
Don't forget it, Hon.
Down in Sumter, South Carolina, we got Delmar P. Down in the Morning After Ministry Studios, we have Andrew Larson.
Greetings, salutations, one and all.
And in his home, whose insurance is not paying for anything, we got Timothy Miller.
Hey.
Dude, I'm so sorry, bro. Like, I am so grieved for you that, like, this is such a stereotypical, like, Floridian thing where, like, a hurricane comes through and then insurance companies don't want to pay for anything. That's so, like, rough.
I mean, what are you going to do? This is part of the drill. So lawyers will probably be involved soon, and you'll just walk down this road, and it'll be a whole lot of fun. I just told my wife, like, you don't worry. I'll just take on, this particular burden this time, and hopefully none of the family will feel the weight of this. Because
is your roof fixed or is it blue tarped?
It's blue tarped.
Oh boy!
Oh wow!
Yep, and your kids are cool with getting paper towels for Christmas?
Nice.
Well, we've had this discussion.
Everybody gets a box of shingles. Yeah!
Yay! Hey, just create a mission trip for your youth group. Local missions for your church youth group. That's all you get.
Local mission day. You're repairing the pastor's roof, which we do have a former Mennonite who said, "Tim, I used to do roofs. If you need help," I'm like, I might be calling upon him.
But the question is,
Mennonites,
would elders show up and
their
help,
work
though?
ethic?
Oh yeah,
would they?
Great question, Jeff. Great question.
All right. Well, just for legal purposes, I don't want to ruin any of Tim's case. So let's keep going. Hey, before we dive into the episode, the Practically Pastoring Conference is happening February 17th to the 19th in Lakeview Church, which the only damage that happened was a broken window, right? And a tree got pulled out. So is the window fixed?
Already been. It's all fixed. We're ready to go.
Nice.
We're ready for Practically Pastoring Conference 2025.
Guys and ladies, whoever's listening, I would love for you to be at the Practically Pastoring Conference. It is still one of the most affordable conferences you could go to. And as we always say, February in Florida can't be beat. Like can't be beat. Like come to Florida. The weather is great. It's not too hot. It doesn't quite rain as much as it does later in the year. You're going to want to be there. The Practically Pastoring Conference, go to practicallypastoringconference.com. You're going to love it. Hey, so we have two questions that I want to talk about. The first question, I want to hear from the Dr. Andrew, because your secondary place of employment is mentioned in this question. And so I want to hear you answer this question, but I want everyone to answer this question. I got this question from one of the other Facebook groups that I peer into sometimes. And this was the most tame question right now. The big question in this Facebook group is all about, can Christians not sin for 24 hours? And people are freaking out right now. It's a crazy.
You saw that too, huh?
It's a crazy group right now. But if you scroll down literally like 15 feet in the Facebook group, I found this question. I think it's helpful. All right. Question for all. I am a graduate from Liberty University with a bachelor's degree in pastoral leadership. I know the Lord has called me to be a pastor, but as a pastor, how important is a master's degree before you hire a pastor to be on your staff? Should I pursue a master's of divinity? Thoughts? So there's a guy who graduated with an undergrad from Liberty University, looking to be in ministry, and he's considering going, I'm guessing, straight into his master's program. How would you advise this young man in terms of what he should do? Should he go to a church real quick? Should he stay in school and do his master's degree? I've seen people do both. What is your suggestion? Andrew, since you are maybe this student's teacher, what did you tell him?
I would say it depends on what you want to do and where you want to be. It depends on the denomination or the church that you're trying to be in. I would say you can never be too qualified for a job. I don't think a master's of divinity is going to overqualify you to be an associate pastor or a youth pastor or a small groups pastor, whatever it is that you want to step into. If you are looking to step into a senior pastorate, that might be a different conversation. Different churches, different denominations, different groups want different things out of their pastors. Sometimes they want someone who has 5 or 7 years experience on staff, and then they send you to get the master's degree. Sometimes they don't want you on staff until you have that master's degree. So it depends on where you're trying to be. So I would do some homework, figure out, hey, here's the kind of church that I'd like to work at, and then look up their staff. Do they have advanced degrees? Do they, when did they get those advanced degrees? And have a conversation with a board of elders or deacons, depending on the church, and make your decision from there. But if you are just coming off of a degree program, one of the regrets that I have in my life is that I took a break between my undergrad and seminary studies, and I have lots of friends that just went right into it, and then after 2 years of being out of seminary, they decided they didn't want to be in ministry. So that's the other side of this coin. You might commit 6-7 years and $100,000 to something that you find out isn't what's for you. So find a church, get involved, start serving, and go from there. But you're not going to gain any academic momentum by taking a 2 or 3 year break. You might gain some vocational momentum by doing it that way. But when you get back into the grind of coursework, you will feel it when you haven't been in that class for a while.
Yeah, I'm with Andrew on this. I would say that the beauty of Liberty University is probably Liberty Online. You can still proceed forward with your MDiv. I'm a big fan of the MDiv. It's what I went and got. I don't know that it's this requirement before you join any sort of church staff, but like Andrew said, it's just going to depend on the context and the church you're chatting with. If you're already in conversations with a church, letting them know that you're considering pursuing your MDiv is a great thing to say in that interview process. If you don't have to take a break, I probably wouldn't. Even if you wanted to proceed slowly, right? Just a couple of classes a semester, just to keep on with that academic pace. I did not necessarily sprint by any means. It took me 6 years to get my MDiv, but I will say it was well worth it. I'm definitely glad that I did. But I was already on staff before I started my seminary program, and I was already hired as lead pastor. Now, the search team and the elders knew when they hired me that I was in process for my MDiv. So that definitely played a part. But I think you've got options here, and a lot of it's going to depend on the context.
Let me interject one thing real quick. When you are starting a program, the difference between you and the other 30 applicants a church is going to get might be that MDiv in process on your resume. So even if you're 3 credit hours in, the fact that you can say, I am in this process, separates you from the people that aren't. And then if you're at a church that doesn't require the MDiv, especially if Liberty is where you want to be, there are a whole lot of, whether it be apologetics or, biblical literature, whatever it is, there's a bunch of 30 or 36-hour master's degrees that you can transfer every course that you take at the beginning stages of your MDiv towards. So if you want to do an 80-hour MDiv, awesome, do that. But if you want to get started and then it turns out you don't need that, and you can hit 2 buttons with an admissions counselor and have all of those credit hours transferred to something that you could have done in a year or a year and a half, well, then that's a win too. I don't think it's MDiv or bust these days.
No, it's not. I know for me, I took a couple years out before I went back for my master's. And I will say a couple things that play into it is if you are going to be pursuing a master's, then depending on if you move, I like to be on campus. So I settled into my church a little bit. So I found a university close to me, a divinity school close to me that I could actually physically go to. Some people are waiting on that. If you do Liberty, I think you could do it all online. So that may not be as big of an issue, but you also have to take into account the best way for you to learn. I think that's important when you're talking about masters, because if you get into a program and it does not work in the way that you learn, you're just going to have that continuing masters on there for like 10 years because you might take a semester or 2 off. Another thing that I think is important to look at is, if I had 2 resumes in front of me and both of them say they got this bachelor's and one of them says continuing MDiv, and the other one says, but I also not continuing MDiv, but I have 5 years of ministry experience. I want a guy who knows how to talk to people more than I know a guy who can write an essay of the right thing. Regardless, this is my practical advice for this fella. Man, you need to be serving in a church right now. Like, especially if you're going to be interviewing, they need to be able to look at your resume. I will say that probably has more power in my book than I'm working on a master's. All that to be said, go ahead, get your master's if you feel that's what you need to be. But I don't think you could put a value on having experience, especially with you going into the pastorate role for the first time. If you could find a church in your area where the pastor would even take you under his wing as a mentor so you can serve in that capacity, that's going to put you a light years ahead of these guys just coming out of seminary who their only vocation has been student. I think that there's a lot to be said about that as well.
I'll talk as the more than a decade ministry experience and only a bachelor's degree to my name. So I have a couple of classes at a seminary. I go to we actually have it's a Catholic seminary here in town, Baltimore, and it has an ecumenical program. And so I've taken a couple of classes at that, and there's actually some pretty high level like New Testament scholars that teach there. And one of the benefits of it being a Catholic university is that it's like incredibly well endowed, and so classes are very cheap. So one thing that I would encourage you to do if you're thinking about being on staff at a church and continuing seminary is, depending on your denomination and your church, there may be some financial help there. So this seminary has a program where they will pay a third of the class cost if your church pays a third, and then you pay a third. So I'm only paying like $400 a class, which is very cheap for the level of degree that you're in. So that's something to think about. I think the biggest benefit to me, and I'm a little bit with you, Del, on at least partially being in person, because the seminary is like, it's a 25-minute drive from my house. So I pretty much go on campus when I go to classes. Also, it's a beautiful old Catholic campus, so that's pretty cool. And the library is ridiculous. So cool. But I think the best experience, or the best part of it for me, is the exposure to ideas and books that I would probably not have found myself. And I would guess that's probably true even if, let's say, you get your undergrad at a university and then you're going to maybe go to master's. You're going to have different professors. You're going to run into different people. And so you're going to be exposed to ideas. So it's not necessarily the book learning part of it that is most valuable to me, although that is very valuable. It's the interactions you have in class and the ideas you hear and the pushback you get. That for me is a big part of the academic experience after you get your bachelor's degree. And then, like everybody said, it depends on your denomination. Some denominations you have to have a master's degree to be ordained. Some of them you don't. Mine you don't. So my denomination does not ordain out of seminary. Some do, and so you need to understand that and pay attention to that. So I kind of think it's case by case. If you love education, then I would totally agree with guys who've already said, don't take a break. Just keep that ball rolling and keep going, at least partially. And then if you get into ministry and realize, wow, now I've got a family. Now I've got, I'm at a small church and I had to, take over 2 or 3 other ministries. I don't have time. Well, I'll take a semester or 2 where you only do a class or 2. But I don't see how you could say it's not valuable if it's at a good university and a good seminary to just continue to get educated. Honestly, at the very least, just so you have fresh ideas in the tank for preaching. Like just reading different books, even if they're in classes, like not even remotely, like the last class I took was on trauma and informed care. And like there was stuff in that class that made its way into my sermons just because it was new ideas that applied to things that I was seeing in ministry. So yeah, definitely. Even if you're taking a class at a time, it's still valuable to have that. I kind of talk about it as like the juices are flowing, like I'm not just by myself reading books. It's like I'm interacting with other people who are also in an educational mode. And I just think I don't know how you could say it wouldn't be helpful.
I went to Bible college, and I didn't I didn't enjoy education when I was in college, and like I graduated with like a fine GPA, but like the moment I graduated, I was like, I never want to go back to school. And my like crutch was like, Matt Chandler didn't go to seminary. And I thought, oh, because Matt Chandler didn't go to seminary, I don't need to go to seminary. And then he went back to seminary. And so I was like, well,
Come on, Matt.
I know and actually Matt was interviewed one time about this, and he said people who don't need to go to seminary are only people. He made a firm case of saying, like, we live in a time where seminary is not the validation you need as much as it used to be. Like, now we live in a time where you can be as learned as a seminarian. You have Logos Bible software. You have all these tools at your disposal that at one point was behind the fence of a seminary. And nowadays, even the biggest issue is certain denominations do see the validation in going to a specific seminary that lines up with the denomination, but that's going less and less and less. So Matt's argument was, like, if you can learn the languages on your own, then you don't need to go to seminary. But if you don't have the discipline or know how to learn the languages, or at least know how to use the tools to know the languages, then seminary might be a good thing for you. But then he went to seminary. And so I am the person that took a long break. Like, I graduated in 2010 and I went to seminary in 2019, I think is when I started. Yeah. And I agree, like, it was hard getting back into the role of, like, being a student and writing papers and stuff like that. I will say, though, I am a much better student in my mid-30s than I was when I was 21, 22.
Oh, that was a huge conversation with my wife, because I was a bad student in Bible college and wasted a lot of money. And she was like, are you sure? And I was like, well, I am 10 years older, so I'm not that guy anymore.
Yeah, I'm, like, way more disciplined when it comes to that stuff. And I do think when you get to your master's program, you're, like, it's kind of like your senior year of high school. You're actually, like, doing things that are, like, a little bit more interesting and, like, more tailored and focused to what you're doing. Where, like, a master's degree or an MDiv, and I'm sure Andrew could probably test this, like, our doctorate is so hyper focused on what you're actually wanting to do that, like, it just seems more interesting, and you're just, like, consuming it in a different way than you are doing, like, theoretical stuff that doesn't have to do with your field. I do think this, though, you should know this. Andrew's right. You'll never be too overqualified for a position, but that doesn't translate into money, right? So, like, if you have an MDiv, you're not necessarily going to get paid more than if you just had a bachelor's in most positions. The sad thing is, like, we see this all the time. If you go to church staffing right now, you'll see so many churches require an MDiv or a master's degree, and they're paying fresh out of Bible college, like, rates or whatever. Like that's the difficult thing when it comes to ministry, is the only place where your education doesn't equal actual dollars in the hiring process. However, like, over time, like, when you hit your 30s and 40s, having that MDiv and masters, and you're applying to be a senior pastor or something like that, it will maybe make a difference, but, like, not usually at the age you're at right now. But I think
there's a different level of flexibility that comes with it as well. When I told anybody and everybody who would listen when I started my doctorate that I wasn't trying to get the bigger, fancier degree so that I could leave the little church, but rather that I was getting that degree so that I could stay at the little church. Because now I have opportunities to do things, whether, I'm teaching adjunct at Liberty, and I've had some other opportunities that have popped up since, that if I were pastoring a church of 500 or 600 people, my current salary, plus what I'm making from side things, would not equal what I was being paid at that other bigger church. But because I got the extra education, I can stay in the context that I want to be in, that I feel called to be in, and I can take care of my family in a way that I couldn't if I didn't have the advanced degrees.
Honestly, man, I think you just nailed it. We could talk about jobs, you can talk about going to ministry. You have to ask yourself, am I called to this? Because that's going to answer a lot of these questions. Because like Frank said, it does not get you more pay. Now, a combination of experience and that may put you in a job that isn't a higher bracket. But even then, it's hard to talk about ministry as, oh, here's a job with a higher bracket if you're not supposed to be there. I will tell you this. I was called to it, and James 4:17 always hit me. He who knows what he should do and doth not do it, that is sin. So for me, it was a conviction issue, and I had to go back because of that. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you on the other side of it, and I think you guys have probably experienced it, it greatly benefited how I do ministry. I can look at the people who are in, who I shepherd now, and there's an entire different focus in our ministry. Our people are more articulate in theology and doctrine because it's more of a passion for me. The leaders who serve under me and the fellow elder board that I'm on, they're just, I can't really put it into words. When you are more learned, it attracts a more learned person, and it attracts people who want to be more learned under you because you can offer that to them. I'm at a place now where even my leaders are teaching me things that's very beneficial. And I would directly correlate some of that to my experience in seminary, learning about the standards that I need to have in my own ministry. I think Frank said it. It teaches you whether you have resolve. To me, that's one of the big things when I'm looking for a master's degree on, if I'm hiring somebody, is can this guy complete a project? And we're talking a very invasive project, because when you're in your master's degree, oftentimes you may have a family, you may have a job. It's not just, oh, I checked this thing out when I was 18 years old. People who have masters, what you're saying is I can manage another big component while managing my adult life. That is one thing that master's degree is communicating when it's on your resume.
I will add that, like, when I said, like, wasn't like me and Jeff went to the same school at the same time, and like I might be as good of a student as he was when he was in Bible college. Like,
but we didn't go for the same length of time because of how bad I was.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I up until the last 6 months of my seminary program, I was still thinking, I don't want to be here. This is all dumb. And then when I finished the program, I think my view of seminary changed. And I thought, like, there's an aspect of seminary that it does teach you things that your Bible college degree or bachelor's degree doesn't teach you. And there's a level of preparation or a level of continued growth in ministry that comes from seminary that maybe if you run along a bunch of conferences and cohorts, maybe you can kind of string those together. But seminary does that in a kind of condensed way that's pretty special. I will say this one last thing as you're thinking about this. And maybe I'm a little too black and white, and people here can correct me. But if you are going to go into debt to get a master's degree, like if you take out student loans, don't do it. I would actually encourage you to say you desire to get an MDiv, and wait for a church to say in the compensation package they'll at least pay for some of it, if not all of it. Just because, like, you're now at an age where I just don't think you should get. I think student loans are a scam, and I don't think that you should get especially in ministry where the pay is not going to be proportionate to the degree. You shouldn't, you should wait. And if you are a denomination, like, this is where I'm very jealous of Southern Baptists, because if you are on staff of a Southern Baptist church, I think it's like 75% or 100% of your school is covered or something like that. And what it's not, Delmar?
50.
Not for me. It's less than
50%.
that, because I remember it'll cost me a couple grand a semester, and I was Southern Baptist at a Southern Baptist seminary. But yeah,
Whereas
even if that's
Liberty
true,
has a tuition cap on all School of Divinity programs, including undergrad, I believe, and every book that you will require for your School of Divinity programs at Liberty, you will have for free as part of your tuition. So you'll never have to buy books. The tuition is the same whether you're taking 12 hours or 20 hours a semester. It is a cap by semester. So if
it pays to be at the mega churches of seminaries, doesn't it?
It does. And it is a machine.
Is Liberty paying you right now to do this ad?
No, but as someone who started my formal education at the Woe Is Me, Jesus Loves Us Because We're Humble and Little Bible College that now no longer exists, I think I have a very unique perspective of being at the little guy and then the biggest fish in the sea. Because Liberty can do things that other schools can't, and they can use their law school and their med school to fund pastors getting pastors training. Nobody else can do that.
That's interesting. I'll just suggest that, like, if you're willing, if you are in a church that's in a denomination, see what resources the denomination, the church can give you, and then like play that along. And I would, and like based on that information, if it's Liberty, great. But if it's not, go to the best seminary that you can go for free based on all the resources you can give you. Because at the end of the day, I do think like the seminary you go to matters, but on your resume, it's just going to say MDiv, and that's all that really cares. Like,
And your
if you
kids
go to
can't eat a diploma.
yeah, kids can eat them. Yeah. So like, yeah, man. Like, I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear more about this in the Facebook group. If how maybe churches look at master's degrees or MDivs when it comes to their employing people, especially when it comes to like youth pastors. I almost never hear youth pastors being required to have an MDiv or a master's degree, but it's like a nice to have, but not required. But most of the time, youth pastors are getting their master's degree while in youth ministry. But anyways, it is an interesting discussion. Hey, let's go into something that I actually heard this morning as I was listening to the Morning After Ministry show. It's the end of October, which means we are about a month away from Advent and less than 2 months away for Christmas. So I would love to go around the horn and hear what you guys are doing for Christmas at your church, what you're teaching on, what does that look like, any special events? Are you having the kids come out and sing happy birthday to Jesus? Like, I want to hear all what you guys are doing.
Christmas is a big deal at Lakeview. We love it. We have way too many decorations. We call it Deck the Halls. It's the Sunday after Thanksgiving, pretty much every year, but this year it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving, right? Because we need to be set for the first Sunday of Advent, which is the first Sunday after Thanksgiving. So we will be decking the halls the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We call it our Christmas tree, basically a Christmas tree farm. It looks like, because we have probably a dozen Christmas trees that we put up in and around the worship center, and we just go nuts. You know how it is. It's just like with your decorations at the house. Like over the years, you slowly collect more and more and more goodies, and then you just have the Christmas vomit, and it's everywhere, and it's awesome because we love all things Christmas. And then we will go into an Advent-specific series this year. Last year, we went through the book of Philippians, which was cool, and it was on joy, and it's a very joyful book, so it fit. But this year, I really wanted to do something very Advent-specific, so we will do an Advent-specific series, and then we have two big things planned in December. One is our annual event that we do each and every year. It's called our Advent Social, our Christmas Advent Social. We'll have a little program. I'll give a short devotional. The kids will do something cute. I think they've already been practicing for a couple of weeks. We'll sing some songs, and then we'll kind of have some activities happening throughout the church. So there'll be a movie on the lawn. There'll be all sorts of goodies and baked goods. It'll be a youth fundraiser as well. So that'll be happening early December. And then Christmas Eve is our 2 services. We actually went back and forth on this one a lot because we have had 3 services at Lakeview for the last 2 months. And we just thought, you know what? I think historically we could make this work with 2 services, just because we get one of 2 types of people. It's either the families who stayed and then invited their family to come be with them for Christmas, or it's just a whole bunch of new people. And that's kind of how it is on Christmas Eve. It's typically 50-50. I know about 50% of the people on our Christmas Eve services, and we'll have a blast. Our worship director is on it. 2 weeks ago, she sent me the set list. Actually, she sent me way more than the set list. She's like, here are the songs I'm thinking about. What are your thoughts? And we just went through all of them. There was probably 18 songs on there. We whittled that down. And then the other songs, we said, let's just build these into the entire month of December. We want to do a ton of Christmas songs this year. We didn't do a lot last year leading up to Christmas, so we're going to do a whole lot more this year, all December. And then Christmas Eve is obviously all Christmas songs, all about Jesus. And you know we're going to light those candles. We don't do the electric thing. They are real, and the wax gets all over our chairs,
Except for your
and our
Advent
janitors
wreath.
love us.
Your Advent wreath is totally fake, Tim.
Well,
It's a shame.
yeah,
It's a
because
travesty.
it was just not surviving. So we went with the electric candles for the Advent wreath. But when you're holding a candle, we're not going electric there. From infants onto the elderly, they will be holding a real live burn my hand with the wax candle. because that's what we do. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And the last thing, Frank, I think you're coming to this. We do a big staff, elder, spouse Christmas party. And this one is the big one for us as a staff, as elders. We all get together. We have tons of fun. There's gift exchanges and shenanigans, and it'll probably be at the Redkin House. You guys have all been there, so you know it's going to be wild. We'll have a ton of fun with that too. So that's kind of on the staff elder side. We'll do that in December as well.
I'm going to be gone when our church is decorating, which is kind of awesome because I don't have to climb any ladders or do any of that stuff. So that's exciting that this year I kind of don't have to be a part of that. So we'll decorate right before Thanksgiving. We will decorate for Christmas. And then this year, instead of, we do an Advent series every year, but the past couple of years, it's been like, hey, it's Christmas through the lens of Isaiah or Christmas through the Psalms. And this time we're just going, from Luke 1 with John the Baptist and Luke 2 and Matthew with the wise men. So we're just doing full on exegetical, the familiar Christmas texts. Christmas Eve will be a bit more evangelistic in the message, but almost like a praise band cantata that we do. It's a fairly set, hey, here's probably 60% of the songs are, hymn sing-along Christmas songs everybody knows, but a little bit more special music in that service as well as they kind of take us through a brief program. And then we do stuff with the city. City of Safety Harbor has a massive Christmas parade that is a block away from where I'm sitting right now. So we get to have all of our families be a part of that without it actually being anything that goes on our calendar. And then one Sunday we do cookie decorating after church together, and we call it Festive Finery. It's the ugly Christmas sweater Sunday where everyone wears their tacky Christmas stuff and we decorate Christmas cookies. And then I think my favorite Christmas tradition that's unique to us, Jeff, you've experienced this one firsthand, the Sunday between Christmas and New Year's. We know that it's going to be a lower attended Sunday anyway because it's the Sunday between Christmas and New Year's. And we know that we just asked a lot of our praise team because they played Sunday and then Christmas Eve pretty much back to back. And so that Sunday, we do our whole service in the fellowship hall with just acoustic guitar for worship. And we eat a lot as a church together every Sunday, but that Sunday we eat before service starts. And so we have kind of a Christmas potluck as a church in the fellowship hall. And then we do this whole services around the tables while everybody has breakfast casserole and cinnamon rolls. And that's the easiest example is the fullness of time has come message. It's more of the implications of Christmas than the rest of the Advent series that we've been doing.
Well, cool. We really focus on the family ministries during Christmas time a lot. So one of the things we do is we do a massive family ministry gathering out in the country. My father, he knows how to slow cook a hog on a pit. So we'll get a big hog and he cooks a hog. We'll have probably about 70 guns out there with we got a lot of guys in our church who are military, ex-military, and we shoot skeet. We blow up tannerite. We teach sons and daughters who don't have moms and dads, we teach them how to shoot. We just have a good time. Get out there.
This is a Christmas event?
That's crazy, dude. A lot of people around where I live shoot guns too. That's cool.
It's a different context. That's not just for Christmas, I don't think. But yeah, so we do. We do. I mean, it's just something hokey and unique. You can come out here and shoot the guns. We that's who we are as a church. So we just kind of lean into it all the way. We do a little. Y'all probably do like a Christmas giveaway. So we do that as well.
Hey, Dale, how are most of the people in your church voting? Just curious.
I was wondering that too.
I'm joking. No, I'm not.
I mean, we're in South Carolina, so we vote the way the whole state votes. But we're doing a Christmas ornament every year. Like 4 Imprint or whatever has a pretty cool deal on a Christmas ornament. It's like an oval. So every year we do the same. We're gonna do the same logo with a different year. And the longer you're at our church, eventually you'll have every single color on your tree throughout the years. An ornament from the church. Plus, I think it's Paul David Tripp, I want to say is him. He just came out with a devotion, and it's free. So everyone in our church is getting one of those. And if you're listening now, go ahead and snack that up because that's a really cool thing to give away to your congregation.
Is it digital or physical?
It's physical. You put it in
I
their
think
hands.
I ordered it a while back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 350 coming to Lakeview,
Yes,
Frank.
sir.
So you'll have
Nice.
one.
Oh yeah, I know what
You
you're
need
talking
to
about. Yeah.
get on that. So yeah, we're giving those away. Obviously, we do the Christmas Eve services. We use real fire as well because we're South Carolina. And then one cool thing. It's not the same as Andrew, but we also realized that week between Christmas and New Year it's a weird week. So we have a student. He's a former student of mine. He's now getting his master's. He is sharp. And what's really cool, his father came to church basically when I came to the church, and he needs a kidney. And a couple of weeks ago, one of our congregants, our whole church got tested, and one of our congregants was a match. So our congregant is giving an elder his own kidney, and which is pretty cool. But anyways, that elder's son will be coming to preach the week after Christmas, which is like a full circle thing. If you feel the spirit of what's going on in our church right now, this elder who's getting a kidney, his son's preaching, and the whole staff is given the week off. Everybody, and even the people who are like the normals on stage for worship, I think even some of them are given that week off too, just so they can be with their families, because you know how the week running up to Christmas is. And I don't know about y'all, but all of our stuff really doesn't start at Christmas. For us, it starts now. It starts in the November season. We have a big dinner for Thanksgiving. So like between Thanksgiving and Christmas is just wide open. So we really value that time after it. So we get some time off there as well.
We do the normal traditional Advent series pretty much every year. So hope, love, joy, peace, or, love, hope, joy, peace, whichever order you follow. So we'll do that this year. We actually were thinking, Andrew, similar to what you said, just coming out of Luke and not emphasizing the themes for Advent that are traditional. But when I first came, we did purple, and everybody thought it was for the Ravens. So we were like, let's go red and green, so we don't get too confused. But so I will actually be down in Florida for Thanksgiving. So I think that they are going to decorate, if I remember correctly, they're going to decorate in between Thanksgiving and that first Sunday of Advent, or maybe just shortly before. And so I won't be there for the decorating, which is, I actually don't do very much other than like know where niche things are in the church. Like, hey, pastor, do you know where a power strip is? Andrew, you probably relate to this the most. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's one down in the basement in this room that I remember seeing last week when I was down there. So I will just do my best to get all that stuff organized. I have like a bin of like extension cords and stuff that I'm going to put together and make sure everything is accessible, and then put a couple people in charge, and they'll decorate for Christmas, and then we will do Advent the normal, like we would Sunday. So the first Sunday, I'm trying to find someone to preach for me so that we can not travel the weekend after Thanksgiving back to Baltimore. And so then we'll get back. We'll do the last 3 weeks of Advent, and we do something called Blue Christmas every year. It's been pretty effective in our neighborhood. We'll do it again this year. It's like a longest night service, so it's really about people for whom the Christmas season is a blue time of year. So that usually happens about a week or so in front of Christmas. So we'll do that, and then Christmas Eve service is pretty much a normal Christmas Eve. It's like a normal church service, but maybe a little shorter, 50 minutes. And then we light the candles again with the real fire, of course. And this conversation has induced somewhat of a panic that I need to go make sure I have Advent candles because they're going to get really hard to find now. So, and then the weekend between Christmas and New Year's, we will do something a little more simplified as well, like an acoustic set. And, I may or may not preach depending on who's around. We are the church that about every other year is very empty on those days because people go to visit their relatives. And so the other thing we're doing is this weekend, the worship team is coming over to my house Sunday night to like pick all the songs for basically November, December. And then we're going to pick 12 to 15 songs for the first quarter of the year. And so we just started using multi-tracks. We just started having a drummer lately and a band every week. It's the same people. We have one person at each position and then a few singers. So This is the first time we're going to get together and we're going to pick Christmas songs and the first quarter of the year. So that's kind of what we're doing for Christmas. Oh, outreach wise, we partner with our elementary school across the street from us, and we've done Thanksgiving dinner last year, didn't get well attended at all. And then we did Thanksgiving baskets the year before that, and that was kind of hit or miss. So what we're doing this year is asking the school to give us the names of like 4 families that we can provide an entire dinner to, who are saying they need it and want it. And then we're actually going to try to hit the same 4 families for Christmas with a Christmas basket as well. So, it's not a wide array of people. Like, we're not reaching a bunch of people, but we're going to reach the same 4 families 2 times in a row. And hopefully that will be an effective way to have a more, more continuity in our relationship with them. So that's something we're going to try this year as far as like Christmas holiday outreach.
I'm just going to Lakeview Church for Sundays because I have like no responsibility over the next 2 months, so it's gonna be pretty
Unless
nice.
Andrew makes you preach at his church every week.
Yeah, yeah. I think Andrew
Just
should
twice. He's preaching twice. It'll be fine.
Hey, Andrew. Before we wrap up this episode, I gotta tell you something. I was having. I saw the movie Venom with 2 friends who I watch all my Marvel movies with up here. And they were asking me who I'm going to watch Marvel movies with when I moved to Florida. And I was like, of the 5 guys on the podcast, Andrew is the one that's like the most into Marvel like me. And he's like, oh, is he the Presbyterian one? And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the guy with the glasses that wears the tie. He seems very formal.
Wow.
Is he Presbyterian? And I'm like, no.
Show them this video with my turkey head.
Yeah, he's like, the Presbyterian one, the one that doesn't know how to use a microphone. I was like, yeah, you're describing the right person, but he's not a Presbyterian. So anyways, that was really funny. Hey, I hopefully in this podcast, the number one thing you should take away with is go count your candles and make sure you have enough candles for
100%.
your Christmas.
I know I'm good for Christmas
candle
Eve service. We got the little tiny white ones, and you got to upgrade to get the plastic cup candle holders, not the paper wafer thing. No. Plastic cup ones, at least you can't go through your hand, through the candle hole into your hand. That's the worst.
Yeah.
But they've got those little teeth that you can stick your finger through and just chews them up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I guess before we go, Delmar, you are publicly unwrapping a gift or a package on the podcast. So what? It
literally just got delivered. So this is 20 years in ministry for me, and my wife gave me permission to get my 20 years in ministry gift, and it literally just dropped off while we're doing the podcast on my front porch.
Ninja Turtle
It
Bible?
came from Argentina. You want to guess what it is?
Something with leather for sure.
It looks like a McDonald's, what you call it, the where you put the apple pies. Y'all, you have no idea how
does look
excited
like
I
that.
am. You have no, y'all. Woo, here we go. Let's see.
Get to the point. What is it?
Dude, this is my moment. You can cut off the pod if you. Oh my god.
Is it yerba mate? Because if it is, good job.
It is a night. Oh my god.
Oh, it's a watch.
It's a watch. I knew it.
It's a 1953 Omega.
I did say leather.
Ooh.
Nice.
Y'all, this is like my grail. Oh my god.
Nice.
Sorry. We can finish out the pod.
Yeah, I have a scratched up Apple Watch SE. So there you go.
I got a Casio from Amazon.
We will be here next week, same time, same place. I will be on the road. Andrew is going to be preparing for his sabbatical, but we should still have episodes every week in November. But besides that, we are excited about all the things that are happening, and we're very excited about the Practically Pastoring Conference happening in February. With that being said, I'm Frank Gill.
I'm Jeff Simpson.
I'm very excited.
I'm Andrew Larson.
And I'm Timothy Miller.
This is Practically Pastoring. Bye.